Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Last time I gave the Sunday Dharma talk was in March. So for 3 months during the practice period, Shuso Moksho gave talks. So I appreciate his effort. I think almost 10 years, or probably more than 10 years, I have been talking on this text. Usually paragraph by paragraph, so it's very slow. And in my record, this is 219th talk on this book. I don't know when I can finish. Anyway, today I'd like to talk on one paragraph. If you have this text, page 131. Second paragraph of page 131. This is a short paragraph and the conclusion of this section entitled Magnanimous Mind. So this paragraph is as follows. So, what in the world does it mean to live and work as universal self? Clearly, it is living and working in the now that is only now, as the self that is only self, no matter what happens. Whatever we are now faced with is what lives and functions as our life, what lives and functions as our life. With this attitude toward life, there is no past, future, or other person before the eyes of ourself. There is only living out the reality of ever-present life. In this book, Opening the Hand of Thought, basically Okumura Roshi describes what is the meaning of our Zazen practice and how we sit. And from the chapter 6, he discussed about the significance of Zazen practice in the modern civilization. And basically what he's talking is Bodhisattva practice. With Bodhisattva practice, we take a vow when we receive the precept that is called Bodhisattva precept. By receiving that precept, we become Bodhisattva. And during the ceremony, we take Bodhisattva vows. Basically, there are 4 vows, being the vows we are going to chant after this lecture. That is, being the numberless, we vow to free them or save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. We vow to put an end to them. Dharma gates are boundless. We vow to end them. And the Buddha's way, in this case, this way means Buddha's awakening. Buddha's awakening is unsurpassable. We vow to what? Realize it. Thank you. So that is our vow, and this is really the endless vow. That means there's no goal. We can say, now I completed. I achieved all 4 vows. But because being the numberless and Buddha's way is unsurpassable, there's no, logically speaking, there's no time we can reach there. And that, so in a sense, this vow, these four vows is a kind of a strange and even ridiculous. That means we make a promise to achieve something that we cannot really achieve. But this strange point is really important. That means our vows is not something we can achieve as a goal, but those vows are direction we are walking. So our practice is endless. And in practice based on those four vows, what we need is repentance. Because there's no way we can complete these 4 points. We see that our practice is always incomplete. So we cannot say, I have done everything. But we feel, always we feel there's something is lacking. That awareness or awakening to incompleteness of our practice, we try to go even one step further. Or sometimes, or more often, we forget about the vows and we go somewhere else, different direction. Then when we are aware that we are going different direction, then this awakening or awareness of we are going somewhere else, then this repentance allows us to return to the right track. That is how we continue to practice day after day, year after year, being led by our vows. So vow is direction and a kind of a teacher. When we are lazy or when we go somewhere else, those vows remind us which direction we need to go. And what Okumura Roshi is discussing about Bodhisattva practice, he said we need 3 minds. That is in Japanese Sanshin, and that is the name of this community and this temple. Sanshin or 3 minds are magnanimous mind, that is Daishin, and nurturing mind or parental mind, that is Daishin, and Roshin. Parental mind or matured mind or nurturing mind. And third is Kishin. Kishin is joyful mind. So basically what Okumura Roshi is saying is our practice is studying Dharma and practice Zazen and living our day-to-day lives being led by vows, living by vows, and living our day-to-day lives with those 3 mind or 3 attitude. Magnanimous mind or big mind, and low literally means aging, but also that means matured, reading or old mind. You know, in the ancient times, elders are very important and respectable people. It's different from today's aging or aged person. People is not important anymore. It's almost useless people. But in the ancient times, you know, aged people are important. They have wisdom because of their experiences, especially in the farming culture, agriculture. You know, the experience and their memory about what happened, you know, last 50 or 60 years is important to see what may happen this year in this kind of weather, to keep a good harvest. So this Roshin, old mind or matured mind, but Dogen Zenji, these three minds are basically taught by Dogen Zenji in the text entitled Tenzo Kyokun, or Instruction for the Tenzo. And Dogen said, not only that Tenzo is a cook, not only cook, but also all the temple officers or even training monks need to keep those three minds or three attitudes to practice in Zen community. And Kishin is joyful mind. So, and what Dogen Zen said about Roshin is a mind of parents. That means, you know, children or kids expect to be taken care of. If you know their parents don't take care of she or he well, they just complain and cry. But parents take care of the children. That is the difference. And within taking care of children or others, as a bodhisattva, we see all living beings as children. And we try to take care of it, take care of people around us. And within taking care of others, we have joy. Those are the three minds. So the name of this community or this temple means to study Buddha's teaching and practice Zazen and live day-to-day lives with these three minds, magnanimous mind, nurturing mind, and joyful mind, being led by Bodhisattva Bhava. And here in this section from page 127, Uchamura discussed about magnanimous mind. And this paragraph is the conclusion of what magnanimous mind means. And from the next section, he talks about two minds, nurturing mind and joyful mind. So this is the conclusion about magnanimous mind or big mind. To explain what are the big mind, what Okumura Roshi basically did was he kind of explained the structure of the self. And until last March, I showed this diagrams. This is Okumura Roshi's kind of a manga. He actually said this is a jiko manga, manga of the self. But this man is different from usual man. This man is a man in mandala. So he played with words. Anyway, first he said, this first one is we live our own personal life. We cannot share our life with anyone else. So we have to live this particular body and mind. We cannot trade anything with others. That is first point. And the last point is we are living together with all beings. Everything is part of me. So this is the third point. There's no separation between self and all other beings and the entire universe. And as to kind of a combine between these two are almost opposite and contradicted. So it's not so easy to understand. This is how we are living as this person, as a human being. So in order to understand these two opposite sides, one is we are all individual, and the final conclusion of Okumura Roshi is we are living together with all beings. We are one with the entire universe. In my understanding, it's kind of understandable when we put one thing between one and this. I call this infinity. That is zero. One means we are one individual person, and infinity means we are living together with all beings as a infinite life. And I put zero between one and infinity. Zero means there's no such individual being. This is empty. Even though I am Shohaku and being born 70 years ago, 71 actually, and living until now, when having gone through the changes, so I experienced many different aspects of human life so far. But this is simply a collection of 5 skandhas. And as the Heart Sutra says, 5 skandhas are empty. 5 skandhas are empty means this one is empty. That means zero. It's this person, one individual person, seems as one individual person, but there's no such one individual or independent person without separation with other beings. Actually, we are the collection of all different elements that are not really me. This body are always changing. Air is coming and going out. Water or food are also coming and go out. And even my way of thinking. Because I was born in Japan, I use Japanese language to think, and my thinking is very self-centered. Still, to create this very self-centered idea, I have to use the language. And the language is a gift. It's not my possession. it's a gift from the Japanese society and the history. And all the knowledge I have now is what I studied somewhere during school age, or through my experience, or reading books, or studied from my teacher. All are just coming, and unfortunately they don't stay. Some of them stay, but my knowledge and my understanding and coming and also going. And my opinion, my thinking, my way of thinking is also changing. But things important to me when I was a teenager is not important at all now. So there's no such one person which doesn't change, but it's rather zero. And this, as I always draw, we are living together with all beings as a part of the network of interdependent origination, or Indra's net, and this is moving through the time, and we are always changing. And beside these relations with others, there's no self, no me, no Shohaku. That is what this zero means. And when we see, this self is zero, then we start to see the connection with others, like Okumura Roshi, talked about the story of squash. When from one root, many vines grow, and squash are there, and squash thinks they are individual beings, and they start to discuss who is bigger, or who is more beautiful, or more tasty, and even start to fight. But in the story, the temple priest came and let them sit, and somehow they found something strange on their heads, and they knew, they understood, they living just one life. They share the system to support each one of them. And this story of squash is the same as this network of interdependent origination. That means this interconnectedness throughout space, and not only space but throughout time. Throughout time and space, each one of us are connected with all beings. And in a sense, we can say, I'm one. I'm different from others. I'm a very unique person. And yet, this unique person doesn't really exist as a zero. Then we find we are connected with all beings within space and time. This is the structure of the self, according to Okumura Roshi. And he said, magnanimous mind is to live our life. We cannot live other people's life or other beings' life, but I have to live this particular person's particular collections of 5 skandhas. I have to use this body and mind. There's nothing else I can use to live my life. So I have to take care of these 5 skandhas. But when we see emptiness of these five skandhas, we cannot be self-centered. So we have to see, in a sense, we have to see this entirety of interconnection is myself. This is the self as an individual person, but because this individual person is zero, this entirety of interconnectedness is the self. So in Okumura Roshi's expression, this personal individual person with this particular five skandhas is called karmic self. And the self that is connected with all beings throughout time and space is universal self. Please.
So, my question is about form.
Form.
And emptiness. And the one that you have at the top, where you said we all are living an individual life, one individual self. Would that be form? Or
All five skandhas.
all five skandhas?
Five skandhas means form is the first one. That is material. And other four form, sensation, perception, formation, and consciousness. Five skandhas. So what the Heart Sutra said is form is emptiness, emptiness is form, and other four is abbreviated. It must to say sensation is emptiness, emptiness is sensation. And it said 5 times. It have to say 5 times, but in order to shorten the sutra, it only said form is emptiness and emptiness is form. But actually 5 skandhas are the same. Okay?
Thank you.
Here we go. I forget what I'm talking. This is the structure of the self. And magnanimous mind, or big mind, is a mind which awakens to this reality and awaken to this universal self, that we are connected with everything. So that's why we take bodhisattva vows to save all beings, because all beings is part of me. And we vow to delusion are unexhaustible, we vow to put an end to them. Delusion means we don't see this interconnectedness, but I think I am an independent person, and this is the center of the world. This is most important. To satisfy my desire is the goal, the purpose of our life. That is delusion. So put an end to that delusion is to be released from that kind of self-clinging. So 5 skandhas are empty. When we see these 5 skandhas with prajna. But usually we don't see 5 skandhas are empty. We think 5 skandhas is me, and clinging to our 5 skandhas. In that sense, in that case, 5 skandhas are called 5 upadana skandhas. And upadana is clinging or attachment. And when we see the emptiness of 5 skandhas, this upadana fall down. So 5 skandhas simply become 5 skandhas that is empty. And we see there's no way we can attach ourselves to our 5 skandhas, because we is 5 skandhas. So in that case, 5 skandhas attach themselves to themselves. But in our zazen, we open our hand. This open our hand means drop off this upadana. Then 5 skandhas are simply 5 skandhas. Even though in our 4 skandhas, that is our mind, our ego-centered idea is still coming and going, but we open our hand, means those are what is happening in our mind, but I don't think. I don't take action based on those self-centered idea. That is what, that is a kind of a result of seeing emptiness of 5 skandhas. And in Dogen Zenji's expression, this is dropping off body and mind. You know, body and mind is 5 skandhas actually. First skandha is body, and other 4 are mind. So body and mind dropped off means 5 skandhas simply be 5 skandhas. Upadana dropped off. That's all. Anyway, so what Okumura Roshi is saying in this paragraph is what in the world does it mean to live and work as universal self? Universal self is, as I said, this entirety is myself. The particular expression which Okumura Roshi uses here as universal self is Jin, Issai, Jiko. Jiko is a self, and Jin is all or whole or entire. And Issai means all beings. So entire or whole, all beings are the self. And this expression is taken from Dogen Zenji's Shobo Genzo. Yui Butsu, Yo Butsu. Yui Butsu, Yo Butsu is only Buddha together with Buddha. And that expression came from the Lotus Sutra. In the Lotus Sutra, this expression means only Buddha together with Buddha means only Buddha can see this reality. No human beings can really see this truth of interconnectedness. That is called a true reality of all beings. But in Dogen Zenji's usage of this expression, only Buddha together with Buddha means this entirety is Buddha Dharmakaya, Dharma body, and each and every beings are all Buddha. That is what he meant when he used this expression. That means all beings within this network is part of Buddha. Therefore, there's nothing but Buddha. That is what only Buddha together with Buddha. So there's no deluded human beings. Even deluded human beings are part of Buddha's Dharma body. So this is how we use our magnanimous mind, big mind, that is no separation, no discrimination, to see this entire Indra's as myself. Otherwise, there's no such thing called self. And clearly, it is living and working in the now. That is only now. Now, that is only now has been talking, Okumura Roshi talking in this section. This now, this particular moment, and this entire time from the beginningless beginning, or from the moment of Big Bang until very end of this universe. This is one moment. And only in our human mind we make a segment, like 1 second, 1 minute, 1 day, 1 century, and so on. And we think time is moving, flowing this way. But if we, human beings, stop measuring the time, if we stop using the watch or clock and forget about those segments, then from beginningless beginning to the end of endless end, this is one moment. Only in our human mind we make the segments, and we think, I think 70 years ago I was a baby. I was born and lived in Japan. That is only happening in here because past has already gone, as Dogen said, so it doesn't exist anymore. And I may die sooner or later, not so far, not so later. But that is still in the future, that has not come. So only reality is this moment. And what Okumura said, this one moment, that is only real time, only reality, again, is zero. If there is even a little bit length, then we can still cut into two. One part is already in the past, and another part is already has not yet come in the future. So this present moment, that is only real time, is zero. Same as self. So one time means zero time. And when we see this moment, this present moment, which is zero, then we see this entire time. And this one moment is really one thing. Same as the structure of the self. This is a structure of time. And the same thing can be said as a place or space here. So basically, here, now, and self. These are called ima, koko, jiko. Ima, koko, jiko is only reality. And that in our common idea, that is one time, one place, one person. But because this one time, one person is zero, and one moment, one time is zero, and one place is also zero. There's no such separation between here and there. We think there are separation. Bloomington and Indianapolis are separate, and it has about 40 miles distant. But in order to measure the exact distance, we have to find one position without size, right? Only a dot. This dot have no size. That means if Bloomington has some expansion and Indianapolis has some expansion, when to measure the distance, depending upon where in Bloomington and where in Indianapolis, the distance is different. whether I'm southern part of Bloomington and I want to go to northern part of Indianapolis. It's more distant than from the northern part of Bloomington to the southern part of Indianapolis. So in order to measure the exact distance, we have to find one position which has only position, no expansion. Otherwise, we can, same with time, we can divide it into two parts, and here and there. Or even in this small zendo, I'm here, you are there. So here and there should not have any expansion, any size. That means here also disappear. So one moment now, and one place here, and oneself, me, are all zero. And when we see, this means to be really mindful of here, now, and the self. Here, now, and self disappeared, become zero. Then somehow this entirety of interconnectedness become here, become now, become the self. So this particular person doing particular thing at particular moment, at this particular place, and this entirety of time, space, and all beings are really one thing. It's kind of very different from our common idea. But that is what Okumura Roshi want to say when he discuss about the structure of the self. In, I think, page 113 of this text, in the top of this text it said, although Zazen is prior to the separation of all things, this is not to say that in Zazen we lose consciousness. Since life is being vigorously manifested, all things are reflected, and self here and now is not lost. So here, the self here and now is not lost. But what does it mean to say that in Zazen, although everything is before division or discrimination, there is no loss of self here and now? It means that self here and now, self here and now is eternity. Self here is now is eternity. The whole earth, all sentient beings. So self here and now, and all sentient beings within entire space and entire time are one thing, precisely because it is there. And when we see this structure of our life, we see it's not possible to cling to this ego-centered person. So that is what opening our hand means in our daily lives. Of course, when we are sitting in the Zen, we open our hand. That means we let go of our self-centered karmic thought. And in our daily lives, we see this, when we really see this structure of the self within the interconnectedness, then we see how ridiculous to live only taking care of this person's desire, self-centered desire. But rather, we have to think how we can live together with all beings in peace and harmony. That is Bodhisattva vow. So this Bodhisattva vow is not a kind of like a commandment or order from some authority, but it came from how we are living together, all beings. I think that is what Okumura Roshi really want to say in this section of this book. And second sentence in this paragraph, clearly it is living and working in the now, in the now that is only now. Now that is only now means this particular moment, and yet this particular moment is one with this entire moment. As the self that is only self, the self that is only self is this only self, but this only self is together with all beings. No matter what happens, whatever we are now faced with, whatever we are facing here and now, is what lives and functions as our life. So what is happening inside of ourselves and around us, outside of ourselves, are our life. So based on that awakening or understanding, we need to think then what is the best thing to do for both self and others. So Bodhisattva practice is not the way to, in a sense, to sacrifice ourselves for the benefit of others, but we need to think how both self and others can live together in harmony. What is the best for self and others? With this attitude toward life, there is no past, future, no past and no future, and no other person before the eyes of ourselves. There is no separate people. There is only living out the reality of ever-present person. Ever-present person is this particular person that is connected with all beings. So this is his idea, or not his idea, but his insight about the self and self to live as a bodhisattva. But later, in the next section, he talks about the nurturing mind and joyful mind. That means magnanimous mind alone doesn't work. Just to see we are one together with all beings is not enough. So we need a parental mind or nurturing mind to take care of others. That means because we are supported by all beings, we also try to support other beings, at least not to be harmful to others, and to live within this effort to nurturing other beings, we have joy. These two are important to live our life as a bodhisattva. That is what Okumura Roshi is going to say in the next section. Well, any question or comments? No question, good. Please.
You talked about vow, the Bodhisattva vow, and how those vows are endless.
Mm.
And I'm wondering when a person is facing their own death,
Mm.
then it seems that they might be at the end of their vow because their life is ending, so they won't be able to continue to move in that direction. So I'm just wondering how a person who has taken vows would think about the vow right before their death.
I think that's a very good question because I'm in that stage of my life.
Mm.
You know, as it said, vow is endless. That means there's no end. In a sense, I think we are still living Shakyamuni's vow. We.
Mm-hmm.
And within our life or practice, Shakyamuni's vow, in a sense, Shakyamuni is still alive in our life. Or I trying to continue Uchiyama Roshi's vow. His vow was to transmit this Zazen practice with next generation. To do so, he practiced with his disciples and lay people, and he wrote a text about Zazen for modern people. You know, there are many good texts in the past made by Shakyamuni or Dogen or many other masters, but those are difficult to understand for modern people. Because our way of thinking might be different. So Uchiyama Roshi wanted to write a text of Zazen for modern people. That was Uchiyama Roshi's vow, particular vows. Beside those four basic vows. And in a sense, I take over those two vows. And I have been practicing Zazen with Western people and translating Uchiyama Roshi's text he wrote. In a sense, in my activity here and now, Uchiyama Roshi is still alive. If his vow is meaningful for other beings, other people continues. So even though I may die today or tomorrow or 20 years later, sooner or later my personal life ends. But if my vow or my activity is meaningful for other people, especially younger people, then they continue the activity. Then, you know, I will be alive in their practice. So this is also beyond the individual person's life.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Last weekend I visited Valezendo in Massachusetts. I lived there for 5 years from 76 to 81. I was 27 to 32 for 5 years. Because I was invited by them and gave a Dharma talk. It was really nice to see the Zendo we built 40 years ago. It's still there, existing, and some of the same people are still sitting. So they are my age or older, but they are still sitting. Not every morning, but whenever they can, they come to sit. I felt like what I did 40 years ago is still alive. So it's still there. My work and my practice in my 20s are still there. And those are still here as my knee pain. So what I did many years ago has some result in there and in here. So it's really nice. I was really enjoyed being there, and also there are some younger people. Those younger people are my hope that they may continue this tradition for the future. Well, thank you very much for listening.